Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking an unboxing first impressions look at Amazfit's newest smartwatch called the Amazfit T-Rex Pro. It's a part of the T-Rex series, which first came out in 2020, and it's their ultra rugged, durable outdoor smartwatch, very much sports oriented, has kind of a chunky, thick design on purpose because it has over 15 different military specifications, waterproof up to 10 ATMs. That's actually over twice what a typical smartwatch like the Amazfit GTR has, which is just 5 ATM for water resistance. The battery will last for up to 18 days of continuous use before you need to recharge it again, which is great. Has the same 1.3-inch AMOLED display as we see on the aforementioned GTR2. Also features, again, extreme temperature resistance as well. So regardless of if it's super cold or super hot, it will still survive. Also has 4 different GPS satellites that it can connect to get you increased accuracy. Also has blood oxygen or SpO2 monitoring. It comes in 3 colors: meteorite black, desert gray, and steel blue. Inside there is a small white box that has the Amazfit T-Rex Pro right on top, and immediately we can see it has these accents, which are these obvious screws, so they're going for this design. So not for folks that want something petite or has smaller wrists. That is something to keep in mind. Alright, so inside of here we have the typical side compartments that they always do for some of the accessories, including the quick user guide, and the other side features just a charging cable, which is exactly the same system as on their other smartwatches at the moment, including the Amazfit GTR2, GTS2, and the Bip U. They're all compatible with each other in the same thing, and they are magnetic, just attaching onto the back of the watch. Charges up here in about 1.5 hours. Now, in terms of the build quality and initial first impressions, we've got a fusion of materials going on. Parts of the frame are made out of this polycarbonate plastic, but it feels very sturdy, and there's also aluminum crown keys on the side that you can tap on to navigate the UI, select and confirm things, and there's 2 more crown keys on the right side, so in total there are 4 different buttons on this watch. Overall, still keeps the weight reasonable for a larger smartwatch. It doesn't actually feel too heavy, surprisingly, so it shouldn't be too uncomfortable if you're wearing it in the day-to-day. In fact, I would say it's lighter on your wrist compared to, say, the TicWatch Pro, although the thickness on the side, as you can see there, is pretty similar. It's also a good chance to compare it with, say, the Amazfit GTR2, which you can see is definitely a lot slimmer by contrast. It's going to be more of a everyday watch versus something that is more geared towards sports and outdoor folks. And otherwise, on the very back, we can also peel off this sticker, and we have access to just the typical array of heart rate SpO2 and the charging mechanism, which again is exactly the same as on their other smartwatches. So the accuracy of the heart rate SpO2 shouldn't be different from any of their other current generation watches because they are using the exact same parts. And in terms of the watch straps, you can see that they are kind of screwed in on the edge, so it's not quite as easy to quickly release them and swap them out, which makes sense because of the more rugged design that they're going for. But if you want to customize it requires a bit more fiddling around. And the actual buckle that it comes with also has a few metal accents, and the entire thing is pretty comfortable, made out of this silicone material, again with some accents and details that make it overall feel a bit more resistant and durable than the regular band that the other watches use. So just turning the watch on, we can see that again we're graded to a very inky contrast with the display. Since it is a AMOLED screen like their other smartwatches, it supports an always-on display mode and looks beautiful in terms of the contrast and the overall vibrancy. There's a QR code that we can scan to basically bind to our phone. The app again works with both iOS or Android, and it's called Zepp. It's the same one that we saw for their other smartwatches, and you can go over to the Profile tab, check out your devices, tap on Add, select a watch, and we can scan a QR code, scan it. Afterwards, the watch here will pair shortly and push over our profile settings since we've already downloaded the app and set it up previously. Things like your stride length, your number of steps you want to take as your goal per day, your height for better calibration of the sensors, things like that. Now, one thing to keep in mind, just like we've mentioned before, is if you do own another smartwatch from them, like the Amazfit Bip, for example, if you connect to a newer smartwatch, it will disconnect from that previous watch. Let's confirm the pairing request here on the watch. It has haptic vibration, so things will buzz as things are getting prompted. And there is, again, a ambient light sensor, so the screen of the watch can automatically get brighter or dimmer depending on your surroundings. And we are able to see a kind of analog style clock, but we can also change that, of course, to other styles, which are built in. We have a handful. Again, the bezels on the side, of course, are not going to be invisible since we're going for this sport-based design, but it still looks attractive enough, I have to say, and you can find, again, other options. You can also customize the different elements of a watch dial as well with widgets, and they can show different pieces of information depending on how frequently you use them. And here's a few more. Some of these we've maybe seen before when checking out the Amazfit GT-R2, but they still look very elegant on here. The overall fluidity seems to be quite smooth. It seems like we can swipe over from the edge here to see our notifications, swiping down to check out our quick shortcuts, including a flashlight that will change the entire display into white to illuminate something in the dark. There's also a eco mode to further preserve the battery, change things like do not disturb mode, the screen brightness manually, and I can swipe up now to access a quick shortcut of different widgets, things like my Pi score, which is my consolidated fitness score, including things like heart rate and sleep, things like that, and also the weather is also down below, as well as SpO2. So the interface is a little different from the last Amazfit smartwatch that we saw. It has gone through a little bit of a change here. Now we have the widgets dragging up, which is interesting. And on the side here, though, we can still take a look at the full list of applications, and it includes this carousel view of different activities, of heart rates and other apps that we can launch into, notifications, workout status, a compass, barometer will tell us basically our air pressure that's in our current location, and we can swipe on the side there to go back by one page. It all feels pretty fluid and responsive in terms of the touchscreen, as you can see there, and goes in a continuous dial as we scroll around. So the interface is definitely a little bit different now. We no longer get separate pages, it seems like, for each of the different functions. They're all in this list-based menu, at least on this particular watch. Now we can also tap on the select key on the top there. That seems to bring down all of our sports and tracking that we can start. There's over 100 different modes on here, so it really does give you a lot of different flexible sports and activities that you can track. A back key here also takes you back by one page as expected, and a up key just takes you up by one page as well. And it seems like in this particular case, it's just going to scroll through the widgets on the watch, and you can kind of navigate that using these two keys, which is interesting. Or if I'm inside of an application, you can probably also scroll up and down using these controls. So this is for instances where maybe your hands are preoccupied, or if you're wearing a glove. And now this makes it possible to rely on physical buttons to also navigate around the UI and get to what you want to access without even touching the screen. This watch does not seem to have a speaker, unlike the aforementioned GT-R2 or GT-S2, as part of the added weather resistance. So that means you can't really expect it to talk out loud to you. And so now the watch's app here has been set up. It's doing some quick updates behind the scenes. We can see the battery percentage remaining, and under store, we're also able to check out the additional watch faces as aforementioned, giving you plenty of options that you can pick between and push over. You can even set your own photo as a background if you want to, and you can also adjust to turn certain features on or off to further preserve the battery life. So that's been our unboxing and just quick first impressions look at the Amazfit T-Rex Pro. This time having 15 military specifications, improved GPS chipset, and still is relatively lightweight despite it being a slightly thicker watch compared to the GT-R2, for example, and again retailing for around $180, so not bad for what it is. The design, again, a little similar to the Amazfit Neo, but this one here was just for show, just for decoration. This one here is the real deal in terms of the resistance ratings. So be sure to stay tuned for a full review coming out soon, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching. That's been our first impressions look at the Amazfit T-Rex Pro.